The first time I saw the rows of identical diaries, I mistook them for a school's unissued yearbooks. They filled a whole wall in the archivist's office, stacked neatly in pine cubbyholes. Hundreds of linen-bound volumes, all the same quiet shade of sea glass green, the spines lettered in gold leaf. The personal record of _________________. Below the blank, in tiny embossed print, was the crest of St. Audran's orphanage. I was 31, newly hired to teach literature to the older children, and I had wandered in because I was lost. Sister Vivienne, the head mistress, had told me the dormitory corridor was second right past the chapel. The orphanage had been a manor house once, its passages curved and folded in on each other, as if the architect had secretly delighted in confusing future occupants. My wrong turn placed me before a door marked Archive, slightly ajar, and curiosity drew me through. The archivist, a stooped man named Mr. Pell, looked up from his desk, startled but polite. Behind him, a candle guttered beside a feather duster, and motes drifted in the yellow light. "May I help you, Miss Astor?" he asked. It alarmed me that he knew my name already. I had started that morning. "I'm sorry," I said. "I thought this might be the way to the East Dormitory." "Almost," he said, smiling faintly. "If you go back to the chapel and bear left." I never heard the end of the sentence because my gaze had snagged again on the diaries. Perhaps I frowned or my lips moved. Whatever I did made him follow my eyes. He nodded once as if he'd expected the question. "Those are the children's records," he explained. "One for each boy and girl under St. Audran's care. Sister Vivienne will tell you more, I'm sure." I wanted to step closer, to pull one from the shelf and open it. Instead, I thanked him and retreated, the vision of those ranks of blank spines following me out like pale ghosts. That evening, over tea that tasted faintly of nettle, I asked the head mistress about them. Sister Vivian was a slender woman, neither young nor old, with short iron-gray hair and amber eyes that saw everything. We sat in her office, amid saints' portraits and a single cactus in a teacup saucer. "I saw the diaries in the archive," I began, trying for casual. "They're beautiful, so many, all the same." Her teaspoon halted an instant, resumed. "Yes," she said, "they are a long tradition. Each child receives a diary on the night of their arrival. Mr. Pell keeps them until the day the child leaves." "Do the children write in them?" "No." The word was firm enough to stop my next question. "The diaries are kept up by appointed hands. You needn't concern yourself." But of course I did. I am a teacher of stories. I believe in the power of written words to save and to doom. When I went to bed, I dreamed of row on row of green books, each with my name on the spine, stretching farther than sight. Weeks passed. I learned my students' faces, the squeak of the chalk, the sound of rain in the courtyard gutters. St. Audran's had 67 residents just then, from tiny Bram at 4 years old to Helen at 17. They were, for the most part, quiet children, watchful rather than wounded, yet I sensed underneath a discipline both gentle and absolute. No one ran in the halls, no one quarreled at meals. It was as though each life were tempered to precise notes of harmony. The effect was lovely, if eerie. During my fourth Thursday essay session, a girl named Mina raised her hand. She was 13, with hair the auburn of newly struck copper. "Miss Astor," she said, "may I ask a personal question?" "As long as it's polite," I replied. "Do you keep a diary?" I blinked at the coincidence. "I used to when I was your age. Do you?" The students exchanged glances. Some smiled, some looked away. Mina merely folded her hands. "No," she said, "we don't need to." After class, I intercepted her outside the classroom. "What did you mean?" I asked. She shrugged one shoulder. "It's taken care of." "Taken care of by whom?" "The sisters," Mina said, and hurried off before I could press her. That night, while the old grandfather clock ticked toward midnight, I lay awake in the residency quarters, staring at the plaster ceiling. My window showed a wisp of moon between November clouds. An urge settled into my bones. I had to know what was recorded in those books. I had never been a thief, nor even particularly brave, yet I believe curiosity is a cousin to courage. At 1:30, I slipped from bed, donned slippers and a wool cardigan, and padded down the corridors lit by dim safety bulbs. The building slept, massive and ancestral, but its silence was not inert. It seemed to breathe softly, like something dreaming. The archive door yielded to gentle pressure. Inside, the only light was a fat beeswax candle left on Mr. Pell's desk, still burning. I wondered if he had forgotten to snuff it, or if he trusted flame the way others trusted locks. The diaries hummed at me. I chose a cubby at random, lifted the book. It was lighter than I expected. The linen was warm from the room's residual heat. I sat at the desk and opened to the first page. The personal record of Mina Travers arrived. 2 February 20XX. Left. Underscore. Elo. The entries began, written in the black-brown ink of old fountain pens. The cursive elegant and deliberate. 2 Feb 20XX. 11:13 p.m. Arrived with red-rimmed eyes and damp coat. No tears. Took tea with Sister Leonie. Accepted blanket. Slept by 11:52. Dreams. Uncertain. 3 Feb 26x 607. I am. Woke quietly. Asked for bread with grape jam. Memorized the word asphodel during spelling lesson. So far ordinary. I flip ahead, curious how often they updated. Once a day, perhaps? 20 Feb 26x 3:16 p.m. Completed first sketch of sparrow. Remarkable attentiveness to feather gradation. Nothing amiss. I fanned farther. 14 May 20z 8:46. I am. Chose the violet ribbon for her hair. First evidence of self-adornment. The date startled me. 20z. That was next year. The ink looked the same as earlier entries, not fresh as if written tonight. I checked the following page. 13 Nov 20xz, 10:02 p.m. Learned the taste of brandy in the nurse's office, unprescribed. Will decide to abstain for life. The hand, the color, the flow identical, yet the record spoke of years not yet reached. I flipped until the end. 28. Aug 20 BB, 6:31 p.m. Holds the hand of her first grandchild, a girl. Smells lavender soap, recalls orphanage gardens. 29 Aug 20 BB, 2:14 a.m. Last breath, calm passing. Doctor's remark, on steady pulse until final minute. My skin prickled like frostbite. The diary charted Mina's entire life, decades forward down to the moment of her death. I slammed the book shut, breathing hard. I felt an irrational need to apologize to the air. Then, because the human mind is both frightful and stubborn, I reached for another volume. This one, Ephraim Gates. I leafed through quickly. First entries matched. Arrival, first week. Then, 3 Sep 20zi, 9:05 a.m. falls from the North Oak. Breaks right arm, sets well. 12 June 20zi, 5:17 p.m. Proposes to El Montan beneath bronze equestrian statue. Acceptance immediate. 16 Oct 20 ZC, 1:40 p.m. Diagnosed with cardiomyopathy. Prognosis fair. 23 Feb 20 ZD, 4:03 a.m. Last heartbeat. Hospital room 402. Weather, light snow. There it was again. A life plotted as cleanly as railway timetables. My hand shook. I replaced the volume, returned Mina's, and fled. The candle on the desk flickered as I passed. Sleep eluded me. At dawn I heard the children stirring for matins. I dressed and went to the chapel, intending to seek explanation or comfort, but found only the same candles, the same hymn echoing off stone. At breakfast I sat beside Sister Vivienne. Her eyes assessed me, took in the purple half-moons under mine. You visited the archive, she said without preface. I set down my spoon. Yes. Then you have questions. Too many, I told her. How is it possible? She folded her napkin with ecclesiastic patience. What do you teach your students about literature, Miss Astor? That stories reveal truth, I said. Indeed, and what is a life but a narrative? Here, we safeguard those narratives. We do not alter or author them, we merely record. But record from where? The future hasn't happened. Not for you. Her tone was gentle, almost pitying, and not for me in the usual sense, though I hold glimpses at times. The work falls chiefly to Mr. Pell. I gaped. He writes them? He transcribes, she corrected. He listens, as a scribe listens to dictation. The source is, call it providence? A chill threaded my spine. Then you believe the children's fates are fixed? Fate is a complicated word. What is written is what is true, provided we do not interfere. I could not swallow another bite. The children around us ate calmly, chatting about spelling tests. I leaned nearer, and if a child were told what lay ahead, her amber eyes sharpened. That would be interference. Meaning forbidden? Meaning disastrous. Our conversation ended as she rose to lead grace. That afternoon I was summoned to the archivist's office. Mr. Pell stood by the open window, a thin silhouette against gray sky. On his desk lay one of the diaries, mine. The blank name field was filled in tidy ink. The personal record of Aline Astor. My pulse volleyed. I never received that, I whispered. It was created the day you signed your contract, he said. Adults connected to the children warrant a record as well, though far thinner. Please understand, I take no pleasure in causing unease. What is written in there? I asked. He touched the cover lightly. May I offer advice? Resist the urge to look. When a person reads ahead in their own narrative, they become actor, audience, and critic simultaneously. The weight can crush. Yet curiosity is a cousin to courage, and both are blood kin to folly. I have to know, I said. He sighed, but slid the book forward. 1 page only, he said. No further. Hands trembling, I opened to the first completed leaf. 2 entries. Yesterday's date and 1 hour hence. 20 Nov 20 W 1:32 a.m. Adeline Astor discovers the prognostic diaries. Profound disquiet follows. 20 Nov 20 W 7:15 p.m. Supper. Roasted root vegetables. Adeline pushes parsnips aside uneaten. Dreams of tidal wave. I stared. The first line was past, the second lay minutes away. My supper, my dreams. I nearly laughed, a hysterical sound. You see, Mr. Pell murmured, harmless so far. Now close it. But I could not. I flipped just 1 more page and the room tilted. 28 DCW, 10:49 p.m. Adeline Astor attempts to remove Ephraim Gates from St. Audran's grounds. Collision on Hartwick Road. Adeline perishes instantly. Ephraim survives with fractured ribs. A date little more than a month ahead. The ink flowed serene, unconcerned. No, the words scraped my throat. I slammed the book shut. No, that's not happening. Then forget what you read, Mr. Pell said softly. Ignorance is armor here. I left him, heart quaking. The corridors seemed to lean inward. Over the next weeks, I watched Ephraim Gates tall, curious, 11 every lesson, every meal. He had a laugh like clinking glass. I saw Mina polishing a violet ribbon exactly on 14 May and felt a jolt, recognizing prophecy mid-birth. All occurred as written. If I spilled ink at 3:17 Tuesday, the diary would later note it. Or had it first noted, then I spilled? The chicken-egg tangle maddened me, and I couldn't forget December 28. Each sunrise ground me nearer to that night. I tried rational strategies. I planned to spend the entire holiday fortnight in my bed, doors locked, nowhere near Ephraim or automobiles. But then the diaries would surely note that plan too, sealing its futility. I imagined them as vines. The harder you hacked, the faster they grew. One evening, while supervising the art room, Ephraim asked if I'd ever seen the sea. He had never been. On impulse, crazy bright, I said, perhaps during Christmas recess we'll go. Instantly I remembered the entry. Hartwick Road lay between here and the coast. I tasted iron. Will we, miss? He beamed. I hesitated, then said, we'll see. He returned to his charcoal sketch, humming. Another night, I cornered Sister Vivienne in the greenhouse where she'd tended winter herbs under oil lamps. Why keep the diaries? I demanded. Why not burn them and free the children? And replace certainty with terror, she replied. People fear the unknown more than the inevitable. Here, the children grow inside an invisible trellis. They feel it, they lean on it, they need not agonize over destiny. Only live faithfully day by day. But they don't know their futures. Knowledge isn't required for assurance. It is enough that someone knows. We hold the burden for them. I shook my head. Yet I know mine, or part of it, and it's suffocating. She looked at me as one might gaze on a storm at sea. Then let us bear it with you, she said. Tell me what you read. I could not. Sharing it would carve it deeper. I left her among the thyme and rue. December arrived, icy and bright. Snow crusted the courtyard statues. I felt a clockwork clicking inside my chest. Wound toward 28. December, 10:49 p.m. On Christmas Eve, the children performed carols. Ephraim sang alto, his cheeks flushed. While applause rang, he caught my eye, made a steering wheel pantomime. A trip to the sea? I nodded before I could stop myself. The diaries had already predicted my plan to remove him, but perhaps remove needn't mean kidnapping. It could be a sanctioned excursion. Yet the collision remained fixed. I scoured the library for maps, seeking routes that bypassed Hartwick Road. Two existed, both longer but safer. I reserved the orphanage's minibus for the 28th, citing educational purposes. Sister Vivienne signed the form. I believed I had outwitted fate. The day came, carved from glass. Sun on snow dazzled. We loaded picnic baskets, blankets, kites. I drove. Ephraim sat beside me, others chattered behind. I whistled to mask dread. At the fork where Hartwick Road branched west, I turned east toward Wexfield Lane. Hartwick's black mouth yawned behind us, unmet. 20 minutes later, red flares blocked the lane. Fallen tree, the officer explained. Detour, Hartwick suggested. My skin crawled. I could have insisted we return to St. Audran's. Instead, hearing the children's disappointed sighs, I agreed to the detour. The diaries had known my choice before I did. The road wound between skeletal beaches. Snow melt gleamed like mercury. At 10:45 p.m., with the beach only 3 miles ahead, a stag bolted from the ditch. I slammed brakes. The minibus fishtailed, missed the animal, but a lorry skidded behind us, striking our rear corner. Metal screamed. The world spun. Then stillness, smell of leaking fuel. Groans behind me, but no crying. I checked. Everyone alive. Ephraim clutched his ribs, eyes wide. Sirens approached. I glanced at the dashboard clock. 10:49 p.m. Heart hammering, I realized the diaries delineated my death, not necessarily an accident. The prophecy mentioned a collision, yes, but named me the sole fatality. Smoke trickled from under the hood. I unbuckled. Miss Astor? Ephraim's voice wavered. It hurts. I know, I said. Help will come. I checked the others. No severe wounds. Miracle. But gasoline pooled beneath. If the engine sparked, I pushed the side door. It jammed. The main door crumpled against a tree. Through the driver's window, I could crawl out, then guide them one by one. I made Ephraim go first, despite his ribs. He dropped into snow, hissed pain, but managed. I passed out children like bundled parcels. The smell of gas thickened. All were clear but the last, tiny Bram, frightened, mute. I turned to lift him when flames burst under the hood. Time dilated. I could hurl Bram through the window, risk his bones, or shield him and hope to outrace fire. Another blast, nearer. I pressed Bram to my chest, pivoted and shoved him upward. Hands seized him. Ephraim's dragging the boy out. Heat singed my neck. I tried to climb, but a second explosion flared. Glass rained. A jagged shard pierced my thigh. Another sliced shoulder. Blood warmth, fire warmth. I couldn't move. The diaries had chosen their crossing. For a moment I saw Ephraim's face framed in night, eyes luminous, lips forming my name. Then fire poured inward like dawn. I watched the rest from somewhere beyond feeling. They said later that Ephraim tried to re-enter, restrained by the lorry driver. That the flames were too fierce. That my body was recovered hours later, identifiable by the holly leaf pin I wore. I, who narrate this, do so from within the pages of a diary I can no longer touch. Perhaps death is only the margin note at chapter's end, signed by an unseen scribe. When the children returned, Sister Vivian held them in the chapel. She told them stories of courage. She thanked God for their survival. Ephraim, ribs bandaged, sat silent. Afterward, he wandered alone to the archive. Mr. Pell awaited him. "May I see Miss Astor's book?" Ephraim asked. The archivist considered. "You know the rule. I only want today's entry," the boy said, "to know exactly when she saved us." Mr. Pell opened the green volume, traced a finger. 28 day, 10:49 p.m., he read. "Left's last child to safety, perishes in flames." Ephraim swallowed. "Write something else," he whispered. "Write that she mattered." Mr. Pell dipped his pen, added, "Postscript, her sacrifice seeds new growth. Those who witness will carry her lesson, and one among them will eventually set down the pen." The boy exhaled. "Thank you." "Will you remember Ephraim?" "Yes." Years pass. Mina keeps her violet ribbon until it fades to gray. Ephraim's ribs heal. Brom learns to speak. They grow, leave St. Audran's, follow roads the diaries foretold. Yet each stands sometimes before a sea-glass spine on a shelf, fingers resting on linen, hearing the ghost of my chalk-scratching metaphor upon a board. And somewhere beyond cubbyholes and candlelight, I drift, ink-bound, no longer afraid of the sentences ahead. The story holds, and I within it. Though pages turn without my hand, though endings are written before beginnings know to breathe,